Alfred Thayer Mahan wrote in 1890 that whoever controls the sea controls global commerce, and whoever controls global commerce controls the world. Over a century later, this principle still holds, and today, two powers are locked in a competition to determine who writes the rules for the world's oceans. The United States has dominated the seas since 1945. China is building a navy to challenge that dominance. The question is not whether this competition exists, but whether the balance of power is shifting, and what that means for the rest of us. Let's start with the numbers. The U.S. Navy operates 11 aircraft carriers, 68 submarines, and roughly 290 deployable battle force ships. China's People's Liberation Army Navy fields 3 aircraft carriers, 66 submarines, and approximately 370 ships total. On paper, China has numerical superiority. But naval power isn't about counting hulls. The U.S. maintains a global presence. Its fleets operate from Japan to the Mediterranean, from the Indian Ocean to the Arctic. American carriers can project power 1,000 kilometers inland. Its submarines patrol every major ocean. And crucially, the U.S. has a network of bases, alliances, and resupply chains built over 7 decades. China's Navy, by contrast, operates primarily within the first island chain, the arc running from Japan through Taiwan to the Philippines. Most of its ships are smaller coastal vessels designed for regional defense, not global reach. Its 3 carriers are less capable than American counterparts. And it has exactly 1 permanent overseas base, in Djibouti. So the U.S. controls the seas globally. China dominates its near waters. The competition is about whether China can break out, and whether America can maintain its access. Geography explains why this matters. China sits behind a wall. The first island chain forms a natural barrier that restricts its navy's access to the Pacific. To reach the open ocean, Chinese vessels must pass through choke points, the Miyako Strait, the Luzon Strait, the Taiwan Strait. In wartime, these narrows become kill zones. This containment isn't theoretical. During the Cold War, the U.S. and its allies, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, the Philippines, fortified this island chain specifically to bottle up the Soviet Pacific Fleet. Today, the same strategy applies to China. Beijing understands this vulnerability, which is why it's pursuing 3 strategies simultaneously. First, area denial. China has deployed thousands of anti-ship missiles, advanced radar systems, and long-range aircraft to push American carriers beyond the first island chain. The goal isn't to defeat the U.S. Navy outright, but to make the waters near China too dangerous for U.S. operations. Second, base acquisition. China is building ports in Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Cambodia, and Myanmar. These aren't just commercial facilities, they're dual-use infrastructure that can support naval operations, gradually extending China's reach into the Indian Ocean. Third, island construction. Between 2013 and 2016, China built 7 artificial islands in the South China Sea and militarized them with runways, radar, and missile batteries. These installations extend China's operational range and complicate any U.S. effort to enforce a blockade. Washington sees all of this clearly, and it's responding on multiple fronts. The U.S. has reoriented its military posture toward the Indo-Pacific. It's rotating more submarines to Guam, deploying hypersonic missiles to the region, and strengthening alliances with Japan, Australia, South Korea, and India through frameworks like AUKUS and the Quad. More importantly, it's working to maintain control of the choke points. U.S. forces regularly conduct freedom of navigation operations through the Taiwan Strait and South China Sea. They train with regional partners to ensure interoperability, and they're pre-positioning equipment in the Philippines, which sits astride China's primary access routes to the Pacific. But there's a problem: distance. American forces operate 8,000 kilometers from their main bases. Chinese forces operate from home ports. In any extended conflict, logistics become decisive. The US must sustain operations across an ocean. China defends waters within sight of its coast. This asymmetry favors Beijing in a limited war, which is why the US is investing in long-range strike capabilities, unmanned vessels, and distributed operations, concepts designed to offset China's geographic advantage. Everything hinges on Taiwan. If China controls Taiwan, the first island chain collapses. Chinese submarines gain direct access to the Pacific. The geographic wall disappears. Japan's southern flank becomes exposed, and American credibility in Asia evaporates. This is why Taiwan isn't just about territorial integrity. It's about maintaining the strategic architecture that has underwritten US naval dominance for 80 years. Beijing knows this too, which is why cross-strait tensions aren't decreasing. China has increased military pressure on Taiwan through air incursions, naval exercises, and economic coercion. The question isn't whether China wants to control Taiwan, but when it believes it can do so at acceptable cost. The US has responded with strategic ambiguity, refusing to explicitly commit to Taiwan's defense while selling it weapons and maintaining the capability to intervene. This calculated vagueness is designed to deter Chinese aggression without encouraging Taiwanese independence. But ambiguity has limits, and those limits are being tested. Naval power isn't just about warships, it's about controlling trade routes. 80% of global trade moves by sea. China is the world's largest trading nation, and most of its imports and exports transit through waters the US Navy can blockade. This vulnerability, known as the Malacca Dilemma, shapes Chinese strategy. Beijing has responded by diversifying routes. It's building pipelines from Russia and Central Asia to reduce dependence on seaborne energy. It's developing the Belt and Road Initiative to create overland trade corridors, and it's expanding its navy specifically to protect sea lanes. But these alternatives have limits. Pipelines can't replace the volume carried by container ships. Overland routes are slower and more expensive, and protecting global sea lanes requires a global navy, which China doesn't yet possess. The US, meanwhile, retains the ability to strangle Chinese trade in wartime. This economic leverage is a form of sea control more potent than any battle fleet. So who controls the seas? Today, the United States. Its navy remains larger, more capable, and globally deployed. It maintains access to every ocean and can project power anywhere within days. Its alliance network provides bases, logistics, and force multiplication that China cannot match. But the trajectory is shifting. China has built a formidable regional navy in just 2 decades. It's developed weapons systems designed to deny US access to its periphery, and it's expanding its reach into the Indian Ocean and beyond. The real answer is that sea control is no longer binary. The US dominates globally, China dominates regionally, and the gray zone between these realities is where the competition will be decided. What matters isn't who controls the seas today, but who will control them in 2035, when China's naval buildup matures and America's post-Cold War fleet reaches the end of its service life. The balance hasn't tipped yet, but it's shifting. And the world is watching to see whether American naval supremacy is permanent, or whether we're witnessing the beginning of a new maritime order. Nations don't choose whether geography matters. They only choose how to respond to it. And in the contest for sea control, both Washington and Beijing understand that their choices today will determine who shapes the world tomorrow.